All right, what we're going to be talking about today is a sixth step to financial security. It's something that you already know and you heard me talking about it before, but I thought that this would be a good time to really review what we're trying to accomplish for our own financial well-being in addition to financial well-being of our prospect clients. So these are the things that we need to shoot for. This is something that we are shooting for. This is something that we all need to have in order to have security in our financial lives. There are six things that a lot of people are talking about it. And this is agent training use only. So this is not for prospect client. This is for agents and prospect agents. So this is agents training. So this make sure that you are aware of it. Don't use it as a marketing materials. All right, sixth step to financial security. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the overview of what I'm going to talk about. So very first thing that you need in terms of getting into this financial well-being is that number one. What's number one? Cash flow. Very first thing is that you and I need to have a cash flow. We need to have a good cash flow. Number two, we need to manage debt wisely. Number three, emergency fund. We need to have a good emergency fund. And nowadays, a good time to really test whether we had an emergency fund or not. And number four is a proper protection, insurance management. Number five is a long-term saving money for future. Number six is estate planning. These are the six things that we need, and I'm going to go each item by items on the next few slides. Number one, cash flow. Very first thing that we need to ask is, what is a cash flow? Does it mean that you and I need to make lots of money? Yes and no. The cash flow means your total income minus your total expense. So your income is more than your total expense. That means you have positive cash flow. But if your expense is more than your income, that means you have a negative cash flow. Which one do we like? Obviously, we like to have a positive cash flow because if we have a negative cash flow, that means our life is in hell. So that's something that we need to think about. All right, so here are the few things. Number one thing, in order for us to increase our cash flow, we need to manage expenses. Make sure to spend money less than what we are making. Is that the truth for most of us? A lot of times that's not the case. Is it only the bad case for the people who are not making lots of money? No, it is not. I don't think it is it's not the case of whether you're making lots of money or very little money. It's a matter of your discipline. Let's say you're making $20,000 a month, and let's say your expense every month is $21,000, which means you're negative 1,000. You're $1,000 short every month. You have a negative cash flow. Is your life affluent? Probably not. Let's say you're making $5,000 a month and you're managing your expenses, so you're only spending $4,000. So you have $1,000 surplus. You have a positive cash flow of $1,000. Probably you're better off than the other person who makes $20,000 and spending $21,000. So managing expenses is one way to increase our cash flow. Number two, I mean, it's very obvious. It's not how much money you make, but how much you save. Are we saving money, or are we spending and we always end up short at the end of the month? If that's the case, we really need to look into our habit, our spending habit. All right. Number three, in order for you and I to increase cash flow, we need additional income. If you have additional income, then our cash flow problem can be solved. Where are you going to get additional income? I mean, start with some part-time job. You cannot find the part-time job, start working with Epi-Digm. Working as an agent and working as an associate who give us a referral. That'll give you additional income. or work. I mean, whatever that may be. If you're having a negative cash flow, there's only two ways. There are only two ways. Either you spend less, make more money. Speaking of income, there are two different type of income: active income and passive income. Which is better? I mean, if you just looking at that, the connotation, you would think, oh, active income is better. But I think what I'm trying to create passive income as much as possible. What is active income? Active income is where you trade your time with money. You're actively working for it. Let's say you're making $10 an hour and you work, oh, $10 is even less than minimum, but for the sake of argument, let's say that's the amount, how much they're paying you. And you work 10 hours. How much money you make? $100, 10 times 10. What have you done to get on that $100? You spend your 10 hours. What if you get sick and you don't work? The income stops. What about passive income? Passive income is where you don't even have to work. The money keep on coming in. Let's say you have a rental property and the tenant at the rental property is paying $2,000 every month. And your expense for that property is $1,000 and $500. That means every month he's giving you net of $500. That'll increase your cash flow. The passive income is more of what we want to have. We really need to think about passive income, especially time like this. If you're just doing nothing, staying home, and you cannot be active, is there money coming in? Probably not. If you're only relying on active income, your life is always on huddle. So work on passive income. All right. So all right. Second step to managing debt. Second step is to manage debt. So you need to increase your cash flow. I mean, this is related to cash flow problem also. You need to make sure your debt is not overwhelmingly killing you. I think this is the best picture that I can find from Google search. As you can see, it portrayed debt as the time bomb, as the bomb about to blow up. You want to get rid of it as soon as you can. Otherwise, it'll blow you up. So very first thing that we have to understanding about getting rid of debt is a consolidate debt. So what do you mean by consolidating? If you have a better interest rate and better term, maybe you can put all of your debt into one place and put it together and pay it back. That would be the one way to do it. And ultimate goal is to get to the elimination of debt. We don't want any debt. We don't want any bad debt, because I'm going to talk about bad debt versus preferred debt. I think I'm going to give you an example. Bad debt is like credit card. Credit card is a really, really bad debit because it has a high interest rate and it is compounding if you don't pay interest on time. And you get no tax deduction on that interest. So you're just paying extra money and you're wasting it. Where's a good debt? One of the good debt that I can think of is that mortgage for your house. It is a better debt than your credit card debt because number one, the interest rate is very low. Number two, the term is very manageable. I mean, you have 30-year, 15-year term on it. And number three, the interest that you're paying is tax deductible. So what you're doing is that you're leveraging your money. So if you put just a 10%, 20%, or 30% down payments, and then you can actually get a very expensive house, you're leveraging your money that way. And the interest is very low and tax deduction is there. And so this would be a good debt. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get rid of bad debt as soon as possible. And the last debt you want to get rid of is a preferred debt. And if you want to be creative with a preferred debt, you can be creative also. It'll help you. I mean, there will be time that I'll go over what we're going to do with a preferred debt. All right. What is the best way to consolidate and eliminate debt? That's something that we can do, especially with a product like Index Universal Life. Number three is create emergency fund. How timely this particular principle is. We're not working. Now, if you don't have money in your savings account, in your checking account, and you got nothing, and you know that I don't have to tell you that you are miserable at this point. You are very anxious. You're afraid of tomorrow. So it says living paycheck to paycheck is no fun. That's what's happening. If you don't have emergency fund, that's what's literally happening. We need to have an emergency fund. I mean, things that we're going through right now, this pandemic event that we're going through now, we wasn't thinking about this. Nobody planned on this. This is something that they play on movie. As I'm going through with this time, I remember the movie that was made, and Will Smith was on it, right? I Am the Legend. Remember that movie? I mean, he was all by himself in New York. Nobody's there, and that's literally what's happening. Have we thought about this is going to happen? I don't think anybody thought that this was going to be a reality. It is a reality right now. What will get you to tomorrow if you don't have emergency fund? If you don't have money now, if you run out of money, what are you going to do? I mean, I thought that this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this training. So what emergency fund does is that it prepares you and me for the unexpected emergency, like today, right? So what else do we need to know about emergency fund? It has to have minimum 3 to 6 months of income. It has to last you minimum 3 to 6 months. If your paycheck stops, if you cannot work, I mean, that emergency can be as pandemic as what it is now, or it could be just local as you get into a car accident and not working. We need to have that emergency fund. And once we set aside that emergency fund, no one need to get a hands on it until it is a real emergency. That's what it means. If it's an emergency and you use it like a petty cash and using it all the time and emergency comes, that beats the purpose of having an emergency fund. So I think what it is that you need to increase cash flow, and with the increase of cash flow, you need to start saving and set aside emergency fund. And the emergency fund should not be exposed to investment risk. Let's say you put your money, you put your emergency fund, and you want to get a good rate of return, and you thought that you get the potentially good rate of return and put it in a stock market. See what happened here. Now, if you put the stock money in stock market and you need to get this money out because now it is an emergency, what happened to stock market? It went down. But since it's an emergency, you still need to take the money out with a loss. So you don't want your emergency to be exposed to investment risk. You don't want that. This is not a long-term saving. You don't want to put lots of money in there. I mean, more money is better, but you don't want to put lots of money in there. If you have a 3 to 6 month and you rest the money in somewhere else and it's an investment portfolio, and when you need it, you can move it back. But the thing is that what is set aside as an emergency fund cannot and should not be exposed to investment risk. Number 4 is ensure proper protection. What this is literally insurance management. What is a protection? What is insurance? Insurance is delegating our risk to insurance company. When you have a car insurance, what does that car insurance do? That car insurance it will protect you in the event of accident. Whether you are the one who caused it or whether it is somebody else caused accident on you. See, now let's say you wrecked a car, and that's about $40,000 car. And if you don't have insurance, you need to come up with another $40,000 to purchase the car. But if you have insurance, car insurance, and car insurance will replace that car. So you're paying minimal premium. With that premium, you get the protection. Same thing goes with a house. If you have a house insurance, if something happened to that house, you don't have to come up with all the money to rebuild the house or repair the house. So that's the thing. And health insurance is the same way. I mean, that's on a person. I think health insurance is one of the most important insurance whatsoever. Because if our health gives out, and if there is a big issue with our health, all our lifetime saving can be gone within a day. If you and I have no insurance, no health insurance, we went in a car accident and we went through a big surgery, few $100,000 will be gone tomorrow, right? So we want to have that health insurance and things like that. And so we need to have a proper insurance. So what it does is that we pay, some people looking at insurance as an expenditure, as an expense. We should look at it as an investment. Investment just in case. We purchase car insurance just in case we get into a car accident. We don't have to come up with our own money. Let insurance company pay that money. Delegating our risk. That's a very smart way. And some people thinking that there are people who are thinking that, hey, you're a financial planner and financial planner do not touch insurance. No, that's not the case. Real good financial planning involves insurance so that you and I and our clients are ready for rainy days. Right? So we need to prepare for unexpected loss. We need to protect against income loss. Let's say you had an accident, and car accident, and you're in hospital bed for 10 days. Who's going to pay for your income that you're missing for that 10 days? A lot of times the insurance do that for you if you have a proper insurance, all right? And let's say you are the breadwinner of the house and something bad happened and then you passed away. Who's going to give money to your family? We need to have some kind of insurance plan to bring that money coming in, right? And not only that, what proper protection does, the insurance plan does, is it protects family asset. Let's say you save money, and you save money for whatever the reason. You have $100,000 in your savings account, and then you feel so good and you feel so proud. And you got hit with certain disease, and then you have to go through the surgery, and surgery will cost you $150,000, and you're without health insurance. What happened to that $100,000? Gone. That $100,000 had to be wasted and spent for you to apply for social service like a Medi-Cal. So it protects the asset. All right? And that the loss can happen due to accident, illness, premature death, and other events. So whatever that may be, liability. Let's say you cause some damage to your neighbor. If you have a proper insurance, you don't have to come up with your own money to pay for that damage that you have made to your neighbor, the other person. So proper protection is very, very important also in terms of getting into the financial security. It's a build a long-term saving. We need to save for tomorrow. But I just saw this slide and it was done in Korean, so I cannot send it to you. And I really like what it says on the catchphrase is this: if you want to send money to you in the future, start saving money today. Start working on retirement. Now, if you reach your retirement age and you want someone to pay you money because you're no longer working, where is that money going to come from? Most likely it should be us preparing for ourselves for the future. So the way we should look at it is when we're putting money for retirement fund, it does not have to be retirement fund, it could be college fund, whatever, but we're saving money for the future. It is an investment for the future. So we need to build a long-term saving. So in order for us to have a successful long-term saving, we need to utilize the power of compound interest. You guys all remember rule of 72? I hope so. And simple versus compound interest, you and I want to have a compound interest. Let the money make money, and the money that money made make money. That's a compound interest. And time is crucial because as time goes by, it takes shorter time to make more money. It's so hard to fathom that it takes same amount of time for $1,000 to become $2,000 versus $1 million becoming $2 million. It takes same amount of time.
Unmuted by the host. Everyone else is muted. You will now be placed into the conference.
So where was I? So we talked about $1,000, the time that it takes $1,000 to become $2,000, assuming same interest rate, is same time as the $1 million becoming $2 million. So what the power of compound interest is telling us is that the time will get you more money. So, and the bigger money, if you can start with the bigger money, that means faster growth. So if you don't have time, you need to make it up with money. If you don't have money, you have to make it up with time. That's what young people have. See, young people may not have money, but they have time. So they can start saving money. And if they start saving money, by the time they reach 65, 67, or 70, their retirement age, because of time value of the money, because of the power of compound interest, they'll have lots and lots of money. But what if you don't have time or you don't have money? That means we're up in creek. We're in bad shape. We really need to work at long-term savings. And that long-term saving account needs to have a good interest rate, at least outpace inflation, better than inflation. We want to make sure that money stays in, and instead of losing its value, it at least keep up with the inflation. Hopefully it is better than inflation. And minimize taxation. That's what we need. We don't want 1/3 of our interest being taken away by Uncle Sam. We want to make sure that we're paying as little tax as possible on that interest. Can you think of any product? There are two risks you and I need to understand. There's an investment risk and there's an inflation risk. If you go with the investment risk, a lot of times if the investment does a good rate of return, you don't have to worry about inflation risk. But if you worry too much about investment risk and put all your money in a safe basket and then getting a very little interest rate, you say your money is safe. But what's happening is that you're getting into inflation risk. You're losing the value of money because it is not keeping up with the inflation. You may have same $10,000, but that $10,000 is losing its purchasing power unless you put it in a better interest rate. So that's the type of thing that we have to think about when we're setting a plan for long-term savings. And another thing that you and I need to understand is that not only saving is important, but once we get to the point where we're actually taking money out from that savings, we need to have a proper distribution. We need to have the same thing. We need to have a distribution where we minimize our taxation. We need to have a proper distribution where we have a guaranteed income for life, things like that, and which we're going to talk about next week. That's what we're going to talk about next week, the proper distribution and retirement income management. Lastly, estate planning. If you've done all these previous 5 steps, that means as you're reaching to your age, older age, you probably have sizable asset. You want to make sure that that sizable asset goes to the people that you want it to go to, instead of taken by Uncle Sam, instead of taken by the unknown lawyer, on any things like that. You really want to get into this estate planning. And Abbott knows what we're talking about. So preserve your state. So estate planning means limit probate costs. Get rid of probate as much as you can, or minimize it, and maintain privacy so that no one can see what your money is and how it's distributed, and avoid legal disputes. When there's a legal dispute, that money is not going to the right place. Number one, it's gonna a lot of its money, the money will go to the lawyer, right? We don't want that, and we want to make the process as short as possible. We don't want the process to take years, 2, 3, many years, and the other end, the person who is supposed to get the money is taking a long time to get that money. It's not gonna help any of us. We want to have a proper asset planning in place so that money is going where you and I want it to. And once again, we want to minimize taxation. I don't mean to create a plan where illegally so that we hide from Uncle Sam, but we want to make sure legal way to minimize taxation. There are many ways that we can do to minimize taxation. All right. This is a very important chart, and this sums up some of the things that I said, because as you can see, here you start out young age and you get older. Right? This is true for everyone. Time is not discriminating anybody. Now, when you're young, more than likely you have very little wealth. So what does that mean? You are in the phase of increasing your asset. But that means when you're young and you're starting a new family, you just got a new child, you have a wife, you have a husband. That means you have a lot of responsibility, right? So you got no money and you got lots of responsibility. So what do you need? You need insurance. So the need of insurance decreases as time goes by, if in ideal situation, because as you get older, you are building wealth. So that's what we're trying to do. That's how we build our system. So can you think of any product that actually decrease the pure insurance and actually increase the wealth? Sometimes it's called cash value. So that's the thing that we really need to look into. More and more I think about this when we look into 6 steps of financial security. One of the product that I can think of is product that we're saying, one of the main product that we're doing, Index Universal Life. Some of the life insurance product with cash value, savings account built onto it. I mean, if you're brand new prospect walking into my office, very first thing that I'm going to have to plan out for you, it will be health insurance. I need to make sure that you have a proper health insurance, because if you don't have health insurance, all the savings, all the planning that we do will go down the drain when you get sick, because there's no guarantee you're not going to get sick. The next thing that I'm going to say is that, hey, let's increase cash flow. Let's manage. It's not something that I can do. It is only for your own financial planning. You're the one who's in control. You need to decrease expenditure and increase income. I guess I can help you increasing income. I can show you how to become Epi-Digm agents and start making money. And the another thing is that I'm probably going to tell you to set aside 3 months, 6 months of savings into emergency fund. And while you're doing that, maybe you should buy cheap term insurance to have a proper protection. But once you get to the emergency fund set up, I think what we need to do is we need to move out of the term insurance and move you into Index UL or some of this savings insurance product that's a permanent that covers entire life with savings account attached to it, which is called cash value, and that gives you all the tax benefit, and then especially on index universal life, it gives you a potentially high rate of return and without any investment risk, and it is protected from events like premature death. And some of the product that we are offering also not only covers you from premature death, it also covers you from chronic illness, critical illness, and terminal illness. It saves you all this headache that you might have. And so it has a built-in long features of long-term saving, protections there, and you can actually have estate planning already built in because it is a life insurance. If it is a life insurance, you are putting in beneficiary already. So by nature we have the money. We know where the money is going, and you can always change it without any problem. So more and more I look into this and I see, hey, this is a good product. So I'm not saying that that's the only product that we're doing. That's like I said, next week we're not going to talk about index universal life. We're going to talk about annuities and retirement plan. We can do a lot of things, but very first thing, if you're a brand new prospect walking into my office, I'll say health insurance. How's your budgeting? How are you managing your money? Do you have an emergency fund? And once you have that, and do you have a proper protection? Do you have a life insurance for your family? Do you have a coverage for your disability? That'll be something that we need to do. And this is not only for our clients, but this is also for you and me. Because if we don't do it, I mean, time like this, once again, do you have an emergency fund? I look into that and said, man, this is a serious problem. That's why I decided to go with this 6 steps to financial security. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any question, I'll take that question. And next week, we'll have retirement income planning in volatile and uncertain time like today. So we're going to talk about some of the issues related to planning for our retirement, for our clients' retirement. And that'll do it.